I'd like to start with a quote from Shakespeare. "All the world is a stage, and all the men and women merely players." Lately, it seems like we're living through some sort of dystopian horror film. Every day, we're shown startling images and stories on social media, each more dramatic and compelling than the last. Some of these images have sinister associations and are familiar. I thought about presenting some clips today from The Handmaid's Tale, the Saw films, Silence of the Lambs, Pulp Fiction, etc., but I didn't because the imagery of muzzles, gags, and masks used in bondage, punishment, and snuff scenes is too crude for this meeting. But imagine how your stomach turns when you recall images of Guantanamo Bay detainees, or when you hear about a violent kidnapping. That is how I and many others feel when we see people required to wear masks, especially children. It is grotesque and triggers our core instincts about human dignity. Masks have been used for centuries to dehumanize hostages, prisoners, slaves, criminals, and other victims of human rights abuses. Because of the long-standing association of covering the nose and mouth with degradation, humiliation, and submission, face coverings are culturally inappropriate and extremely offensive. Perhaps some have been desensitized after being constantly bombarded with these images and advertisements, but not everyone is plugged into the world of infotainment. Some of us still remember the media's infamous WMD lie. We know that the corporate media doesn't care about saving lives. Those of us who find masking immoral and abhorrent have had our legitimate concerns gaslighted for months, and that's why I'm here today. When we cover our faces, we rob ourselves and each other of our basic human dignity. Prior to last spring, the only people forced to wear medical masks outside of the clinical setting were psychological torture victims. In 2010, face coverings were banned in France for violating women's rights to dignity. Mandated use of face coverings violates our basic rights of self-expression and pursuit of happiness. Newborns, toddlers, and children have a right to healthy language and emotional development, and our public institutions are robbing them of that as we speak. Masks are a physical barrier that separate us from each other at a time when we urgently need to be reconciling with one another. Forcing people to do something that they think is morally wrong is itself morally reprehensible. All public authority has a duty to respect the dignity of the individual. Montana's state constitution has an individual dignity clause in Article 2, Section 4, which states, "The dignity of the human being is inviolable. No person shall be denied the equal protection of the laws. Neither the state nor any person, firm, corporation, or institution shall discriminate against any person in the exercise of his civil or political rights on account of race, color, sex, culture, social origin or condition, or political or religious ideas." Turning people away from the Capitol for exercising our right to social and cultural self-expression is discriminatory at best. Forcing people to undergo medical exams and procedures, whether in the form of tests, temperature checks, or masks, or anything else, is likewise a violation of our right to bodily autonomy and thus our dignity. This is sanitation theater gone too far. I invite those lawmakers who are considering extraordinary measures which violate our bodily autonomy and our civil right to engage in the democratic process to ponder the moral and social implications of requiring masks in general, and particularly in our Capitol. I encourage you to perform your due diligence and seek out the many doctors, epidemiologists, and infectious disease experts who are being silenced and smeared during this dramatic period of political and social upheaval and unprecedented censorship. I'll finish with another Shakespearean quote. "There's no art to find the mind's construction in the face." Our nation is in a media-fueled crisis of division, hatred, and mistrust. Face coverings in the Capitol during a time like this is dangerous. This is a critical time to show each other our faces, smile, and rehumanize each other. I ask all of you to consider our dignity and our humanity moving forward during this crucial moment in our state and country. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me today.